In this video I'm going to show you how to pre-tension your winch rope, and there's 4 reasons why you want to do that. So before we begin, some definitions. When we say winch, what we're talking about here in context is a 12-volt electric winch, usually mounted to something like a bull bar at the front of the vehicle. Now, the standard mounting pattern is something called a low mount winch, and this is what they look like. There's one from Sherpa, Bush Ranger, Runva, TJM and Warn, who originally created that pattern, and they all use the same bolt pattern. They're all pretty much the same size and they all work in pretty much the same way. And here are some of the components, and this is the Ironman version. This is the one I've got on the front of my car. So we've obviously got rope, used to be cable, but now we've got synthetic rope. We have, and that winds onto a cylinder which is known as the drum that rotates around, pulls the rope in. There's a rope protection sleeve. You don't always have those, but that does protect the rope from abrasion. There's the 12-volt electric motor, and then we have a fair lead, or sometimes rollers, which the rope feeds through. We've got a hook at the end or something similar, and then we've got a free spool lever, and when you turn that 90 degrees, it's currently showing locked, then you can pull the rope out freely, and the motor isn't engaged and the drum just rotates freely. You turn it back again and then the motor will pay in or pay out the rope, and that is where the gearbox is. Okay, now on with the tensioning. The first reason is to avoid bird's nesting. So this is what I mean by bird's nesting. This is a simulation of a winch drum, and I've just put some rope around it. Now, it's very loosely wound on. If I was to take this rope and put some tension on it like this, you can see that the rope starts to submarine, and it's actually underneath these other layers here. Then if it gets underneath this layer here and it comes back the other round, you can see it actually starts to tie itself in a bit of a knot. You can pull it down through again there, and then the layers of rope get on top of each other, and that damages the rope. It can actually cause it to bind up and reverse as well. So that's the problem you get when you put winch rope on very loosely like this, and the solution is to put it on under some tension in nice neat layers like that, which is what we're going to do with our winch tensioning technique. Now the winch rope is on really firmly, tightly this time, and also you can see there's nice neat layers. Now if I put some pressure on it, you can see it doesn't submarine in. Okay, no matter which angle it goes, it doesn't go underneath the other layers and get bound up if I put even a fair bit of pressure on it, you know, and that's what we want, and that's why we tension it on. And if you ever need to put your winch rope on loosely, make sure that you do tension it up, because otherwise you will get that sort of submarining type effect, bird's nesting, and that way lies a lot of pain. The second reason is that by putting synthetic rope under tension, you actually slightly strengthen that, and you can see the effect of that in my soft shackle bend radius video. The third reason is to test your winch to make sure it actually works, something you should do at pretty regular intervals. And the fourth reason is to see how much rope you've actually got on your winch line, and that gives you an idea of what sort of reach you've got of the winch before you actually need to start winching. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is put gloves on, and then we are going to pull the winch rope out. So I've got my wireless winch controller here. I'm going to switch that on, put my number plate up, and I'll just take that out a little bit like so. Because it's magnetic, I can put that there for safekeeping. Now what I'm going to do is turn the winch to free spool like that, unhook the hook, and then I'm just going to pull out all of the winch rope apart from the last 5 turns or so. Now it's actually pretty difficult to see exactly where the last 5 turns are on a modern winch, but you can sort of see what I'm doing. So you can see here there's a red mark, which has handily means we're coming towards the end of the winch rope, and if I look underneath there, we can now see that we're down to the last 5 or 6 turns on the drum. So that red mark here indicates we're about done. So that's all the winch rope pulled out. So if you bring the camera in there, just try and poke it in. So you can see here that we've got some of the metal drum exposed, and there's about 8-9 turns left on the drum. You can go down to about 4 or 5, so that's plenty. So now what we're going to do, we're going to lock the free spool off, which is that lever there, and we're ready to go. All right, now we're going to start doing the tensioning part. So we're going to take a tree trunk protector, and we're going to pop that around a tree like so. And then we're going to connect up the winch to it like so here. Now this might be a bit easier with a soft shackle, because that winch hook isn't quite big enough, so we'll go get a soft shackle. And one little tip is I keep a bunch of soft shackles right here, so I can just unhook one of them, and then they're always available. So we'll just use a soft shackle for that. And then the hook can go in like so. We're not going to be putting vast amounts of tension on it, so that's going to be fine. Okay, so now we have all of this lined up. The next step we're going to do is to reverse the car backwards and essentially pull out all of that slack, and then we're going to come in very, very slowly with the winch line under tension. So what I've done now is I've taken all the winch line out. The winch is back out of free spool, so it will wind in again, and it is now pointing directly at the tree. So if you look at the tree back to the car, it's a dead straight line, and that's really important because you want to be pointing your car exactly at whatever your anchor point is, so that the winch rope goes on nicely. If it's any form of angle called a fleet angle, that's going to be a problem. So what I'm going to do now is get back in the car. I'm going to put the car into neutral, and I'm going to winch in. The winch is going to be doing all the work, and I'm going to be putting my foot on the brake enough to make the winch motor note change a bit, and then that will be enough tension to put the rope on nice and securely. If you don't hear that winch motor tension change, it's not enough tension. Now, as you can see here, it's not perfectly even ground, so coming up over that rise, I'm going to have tension, whereas coming over the other bit, maybe not. So ideally you want to do this up a steep slope, but it will work if you just sort of ride the brakes gently as you come in. So car's in neutral now. Whoops. Might help if I turn the winch controller back on. I'm going to increase the brakes. Listen to the winch motor note. That's probably too much now. Hear that motor note change? And now if I just release the brakes a bit, then it gets a bit easier. You just need enough so that the winch is doing the work of pulling the vehicle along, as opposed to it just freewheeling along. I'll do that again. So hear that motor note change as I increase the brakes. And it will actually just pull me completely locked if I let it. That's too much, but just to demonstrate the winch motor note change. And now just release that a little bit. So you can see that we're pointing directly at the tree or the anchor point, and that's really important to make sure that the winch rope will go on smoothly and directly. And you've just got to keep going directly at the tree ahead. when you're part way through, it's a good idea just to check that the winch rope is going on evenly. So we can have a look underneath that, and yep, that looks like that's going on nice and evenly, which is good. It also means that you can really just allow the winch just to cool down a bit, because recreational winches are not designed to be run minute after minute after minute. Now, this is not doing a lot of high stress work, but even so, allowing a minute or so for it to cool down is a good idea. And make sure your engine's running, because otherwise you will deplete your battery quite a bit. Alright, we're going to stop there, put the vehicle into neutral, and then just relax the winch cable a bit, like so, and then hop out. Now for this last bit, we can just disconnect that, and then this bit here doesn't really need to go on a lot of tension, so we can just put this on manually. Now, what you don't want to do with any form of winch rope is hook your hand over it, because if it goes on an overrun, it can actually suck your hand inside the winch, and that is just going to be very, very painful indeed. So there's a couple of different ways we can do it. You can get a cable or a bit of cloth or string around here like that, or you can just hold it with thumb and forefinger like so, and then do what we term a pinch. So rather than hold it continuously down, you just pinch it in, you just press, 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 and the signal for that when you're doing winching is that. So that just means just press your winch controller like that, and then I'm in no danger of having my hand sucked underneath it, because that's just going to really pull out very easily, like so. Now I'm just going to pop this about here, like that, and then again I'm just using thumb and forefinger, so no chance of getting damaged, and just a pinch like that, and letting it go now. Okay, and that's nice and tight. And that's it. That's our winch now tensioned, ready to go for the future. So summary winch tensioning. 1. Set it to free spool, pull out all of the winch rope and inspect. 2. Set it back to free spool off, anchor your winch rope and then reverse to take up slack. 3. Winch in under some load, you'll know that from the motor noise, making sure you're aiming directly at the anchor. And you need to do this for all new ropes and any time the rope doesn't go on tight and straight. Hope you found the video useful. Any questions, please use the comments, and thanks for watching.